Hello, I'm an old fart. I have what some of my friends think is a strange hobby. I collect pocket knives, specifically small, folding, gentleman's pocket knives. And you're joining me on a continued tour through my collection. Thanks for coming along. Today we're going to have a look at this beautiful little knife. This is a Lion Steel Thrill, a traditional slip joint knife with a number of really interesting properties. So formally, as I said, this is a Lion Steel. It's called the Thrill, and it's available in a number of versions. Essentially, you choose the frame material and the color. This is the titanium version. There's also an aluminum version available, and a variety of anodized colors are available. So this is the blue titanium. This is, as I said, a slip joint. So it is a non-locking knife that is opened with a nail nick here. So pull, it's open, it is not locked, and just press to close. So a very traditional, sort of old style slip joint with one minor difference that is a little bit non-traditional that we'll get to in a minute. Non-locking, so it's legal in places where locking knives are not allowed. The blade runs very smoothly. It's on bearings. I think they are IKBS bearings, and the good news is they are not loose. They are caged, which means you don't suddenly have a snowfall of bearings should you open the knife, but very smooth, very sturdy opening. Let's go through the size. The internationally recognized standard for knife sizes is the pocket calculator scale. This is about 0.96 pocket calculators. Probably all you need to know, but just for the hell of it, compare it to a couple of other things. The obvious one, and the reason that got me interested in the Lion Steel products and their slip joints was this knife. This is the Lion Steel Best Man. It was my first Lion Steel knife and a beautiful and very impressive slip joint. So as you can see, the Thrill is rather larger than the Lion Steel. So let's look for other things to compare it to. One of my standard knives in the mid-size scale is the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. So slightly larger than the Mini Griptilian. And if we pull out a small Sabenza, it is almost exactly the same size as the small Sabenza. Maybe a couple of millimeters longer. So it is in the large end of the mid-sized knife scale. And the blade is 3 inches long exactly. So in places where over 3 inches is not okay, this is okay. In places where under 3 inches is the requirement, I don't know what exactly 3 inches means. Is that okay or not? Not sure. Check your local regulations. Next, let's talk about the weight. This is a rather heavy knife. It's the heavy end of the mid-sized scale. It's 90.7 grams, call it 91. That's more than the small Sabenza, which is only 85 grams. It's more than the Mini Griptilian, which is only 75 grams. So there's a lot of metal here and no plastic. A lot of metal and the weight adds up. So that's a noticeable heft. Not unpleasant to hold, but noticeably heavy. And that does show up when it's hanging in your pocket on dress pants made from thin material. The blade is beautiful. I like drop point blades, and this is a beautiful, classic, simple design blade with an elegant drop, a bit of a swedge, gentle belly, and I just think a really beautiful blade. It's M390 steel, which I think is my favorite steel. Not easy to sharpen, but it sharpens, and it takes a beautiful edge, and it lasts and lasts and lasts. So I think that's a wonderful choice of a premium steel for this knife. There is a decent-sized sharpening choil and a beveled and recessed shoulder, so there's a good chance that you can sharpen this blade all the way to the edge of the live blade without encountering and making a mess out of the shoulder. Finally, on the blade, just because it's there, you could see stamped on the blade the word Moletta, which I had to look up. Apparently, that is kind of the pen name or pseudonym of the blade designer, Michel Pensato. So his name on the blade, and this is definitely a blade he can be proud of. The body is interesting. I said that this is almost a traditional slip joint, and this is where it isn't quite traditional, and that is that it is an integral body. So this is a single block of milled titanium. There are no scales, there's no liner, just this one block of metal, including the back spring. Here you can see that what would normally be a separate piece of spring steel on a slip joint, the back spring that actually provides the blade tension, is just this single block of titanium, which has been slitted there and there. And I'll just open the blade, it acts as the back spring. There you can see it spring actioning out and back. Now, to get this solid block of titanium to act springy, they've done some very clever machining inside. I get a light so you can see down in there. So you can see that they have machined that back spring piece of material to different thicknesses at the front and the back so that it develops that springiness. So I think that's very clever. Single piece of metal. Certainly makes it a much more impressive feat of machining, and that's part of its charm. The clip is the other interesting thing about this knife. There is a clip. You don't even really notice it if we hold it like this. Of course, you can see this clip-shaped marking. So that is the clip, and it's actually sitting recessed in the body of the knife. So under normal conditions, when you're using the knife, you're not feeling any clip there. It's sitting flush with the body. To use it as a clip, you just press this button on the other side, and it comes out. So it's sitting on a plunger with a spring that wants to retract it. So you can push that out, clip it on your pocket. When you pull it out of your pocket, it pops back in flush with the body of the knife. So that's very neat. It's mechanically interesting, and I love that when you're holding the knife for use, there are no clip hotspots because it has sunk into the body and it's effectively just a smooth surface. So very clever. There's no lanyard hole. Is the knife ambidextrous? I usually comment on that, and I would say mainly. Certainly as a knife, yes, fully ambidextrous. Nail nick on both sides. So yes, you can open and close this knife equally well with both hands. There is no mechanism that is right hand biased. The appearance is not ambidextrous. And there is a clear presentation side and clip side. You can see the clip and it's not movable. So it is functionally ambidextrous, but not visually ambidextrous. And finally, because I know it matters to some people, where is it made? Well, this is made in Italy. Lion Steel Company of Italy. So I like a lot about this knife. It's very much a gentleman's knife, which is really what I collect. It has an elegant appearance, closed. I just love that elegant titanium integral body. It's solid, literally solid, and it feels solid, and an attractive color. Titanium anodizes beautifully and develops a slight patina over time. I can just see, you probably can't see it, but I could just see slight gradations in the color happening where the oils of my skin are interacting with the titanium. So I think it's a beautiful body. And as I've already said, I think it's a beautiful blade. Just a very simple and elegant appearance. So I love that about the knife. I like the mechanism. I like the simplicity. I like that it has a half stop at the open. Now that doesn't matter so much as the fact that it also has that same half stop when you're closing. It stops there quite firmly. So the blade is not going to accidentally snap shut on your finger. You really have to deliberately choose to close it the second half of the way. There is no blade play, which is quite remarkable for a slip joint knife running on bearings. I mean, that is just completely solid. It's beautiful. And when you close it, the blade centers perfectly. Can I get that so you can see it? Yeah, there we are. Just perfect centering. So, beautiful piece of machinery that is is really pleasant to hold and work with. I already said M390, great steel. The clip mechanism is clever as a clip, but what I really like about the clip mechanism is that when I'm holding the knife, there's no hot spots. It's like I'm holding a clipless knife. It's just completely comfortable. I like the elegance with the clip hidden. In fact, in dressy situations, I tend to carry it in my pocket, not on my pocket, sometimes in a little leather slip, and the disappearing clip really helps with that. It's really comfortable in the hand. I mentioned that not just because the clip disappears, but there is very gentle sculpting for the fingers, so it holds your hand quite nicely. And there's some subtle jimping on the back for your thumb. You don't even really notice that it's there until you put your thumb there. And then you realize that, oh yeah, the back of the back spring and the beginning of the blade are grooved into about 5 grooves that acts as thumb jimping. So a nice snug hold that really doesn't spoil the appearance at all. Finally, I like that the knife can be disassembled. Pivot screw here is removable, and a stop pin screw there that is removable. Now, being an integral, disassembling it is a bit of a work. Take the pivot out, and then you're pulling the blade and bearing assembly out all in one piece. So I have not disassembled it yet, but I'm glad to know that I can. I'm also always a little bit nervous disassembling slip joint knives because at some point pivots screws out of there, so I'm pulling out a blade sort of free moving that has a powerful spring pressing against it. What could go wrong, right? And when reassembling it, you're pressing against that spring to get back in a position where it belongs. So disassembling slip joints is a bit of work, but it's certainly nice to know that I can, if it ever reaches the point where it's so soiled that I feel I need to take it apart for cleaning and maintenance. So I like a lot about the knife. A couple of things I don't like. One, the clip is really clever, okay, but the very close tolerances and the fact that it has to move means that there's a bit of clip play. It's funny, you talk about blade play in knives. I've never talked about clip play before. But if I push the button to cause the clip to protrude, there's a bit of clip play there. And it tends, if you just let go of it gently, it tends to hang up on the body. See, it's not flush like it's supposed to be. It's a little off-canted and it's hanging up on the body. I just push it over and it will snap in where it belongs. That's more of a problem doing this, with playing with it by hand. When it's in your pocket, as you pull it out of your pocket, the snap as it lets go tends to cause it to reseat properly. So it's really only an issue when you're playing with it, not when you're actually using it. But in any case, the only knife I have where I've talked about clip play as opposed to blade play as a thing. I find I prefer to have it in my pocket just because of the beautiful, smooth, elegant shape rather than on my pocket, so it's really not much of an issue. The second thing, I've mentioned on a couple of other knives, and I'll mention here, that blade has a beautiful polish, not quite a mirror finish, but a beautiful polish, which means it fingerprints quite badly. And on a slip joint, kind of by definition, you have to handle the blade a lot. So you're constantly putting your blade on it, and it is constantly getting thumbprinted and fingerprinted. And I'm finding I'm constantly obsessively polishing it to get those smudges away. Maybe a satin finish would be a little more appropriate, but certainly it would be less beautiful. So, anyway, those are minor things that I don't like about the knife. Next, let's go through my internationally unknown knife rating systems. We start with the NTGK rating, which is for non-threatening gentleman's knife. And as usual, I like to do that in 2 parts, NT for non-threatening and GK for gentleman's knife. So for non-threatening, it's going to score an A+. This is a beautiful non-threatening knife. The only way to open it is two-handed. There's no flicking. So you completely eliminate that issue of scaring people by flicking open a knife and causing them to go, switchblade. So two-hand, slow opening only. Elegant appearance kind of reminds you of your grandpa's jackknife. It doesn't look like it was designed to be a weapon. It looks like it was designed for whittling. So non-threatening, A+. As a gentleman's knife, I'm also going to give it an A. The good is the elegant appearance. I mean, that's just a gentleman's tool. And it's very handsome when closed. And the premium materials and the exotic, foreign manufacturer. I know if anybody in Italy is listening to this, you're saying, exotic, it's made just down the street. But no, you understand, for the rest of us, Italy's an exotic location, and this is made there. Ooh, wow. The only bad I'd have as a gentleman's knife is that thing I pointed out, that the clip can misseat when retracting, and it is a bit heavy. So when it's clipped into the edge of your pocket, there's enough weight there that it does tend to distort and weigh down the edge of the pocket a little bit. So I'm going to give it an A, not an A+, as a gentleman's knife. And all told, I'll give it an A+ as an NT-GK. Next, the KN rating, which is a rating of what my knife nerd friends will think of the knife. I'll start with the bad, and that is simply that some knife nerds dismiss slip joints just out of hand and by definition, because there's no clever opening mechanism for flicking around one-handed. So for those knife nerds, sorry, nothing I can do. But for the rest, I think they'll like this knife a lot. The premium materials, M390, titanium, the clever integral design, it's just a beautiful piece of the machinist's art, and the very clever clip mechanism. I think most of the knife nerds that I know would love this knife, and I'll give it an A as a KN rating. And finally, my cut myself rating, CMR. Simple scale. I have never cut myself on this knife, despite the need to handle the blade quite a lot because it's a slip joint, so I'll give it an A. In fact, it's quite a safe knife as a slip joint because of that really sturdy midpoint lock. So yes, an easy A as a CMR. And that brings us to the end of this quick review. In summary, this is another of my preferred knives in the non-threatening end of the scale. With no one-handed opening, it's not preferred when I might need a knife with my hands full. But for non-threatening, light carry use in an office environment, I don't really think I'm going to need a knife. I just want to have one with me. It's just about perfect. I like it a lot. Well done, Lion Steel and Mr. Moletta. Thanks for watching. See you again. Bye-bye.